Imagine a world where the skies are ruled by autonomous machines, invisible to radar, unstoppable in combat. That future is no longer theoretical, and it did not come from the United States. It came from China, accelerated by the very sanctions meant to stop it. Pressure meant to break supply lines instead reforged an industrial machine. In the dark, new networks lit up, fabs, labs, and hidden airfields. Algorithms learned to fly like predators and to vanish like ghosts. This is the story of a strategic miscalculation and the birth of the ghost AI fighters. When the United States restricted China's access to advanced AI chips, the goal was simple and direct: slow Beijing's military progress by severing its access to the world's most sophisticated semiconductors. The initial wave of sanctions in 2022 was just the beginning. Washington believed that by controlling the flow of high-end processors and the tools to make them, it could create a technological bottleneck, preserving its strategic edge for years to come. Export licenses for cutting-edge chips from companies like Nvidia and AMD were denied. Crucially, access to extreme ultraviolet lithography, or EUV machines, the absolute pinnacle of chip-making technology, was completely blocked. International research partnerships were severed, and a technological iron curtain began to descend. The assumption was that without these critical components, China's military AI development would inevitably stall. But the blockade had the opposite effect. Instead of stalling, Beijing initiated a national mobilization, pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into its domestic AI and semiconductor industries. It was a strategic pivot, born of necessity, treating technological self-sufficiency as a matter of national security. Dozens of new fabs pressed forward, pushing older, deep ultraviolet lithography to its absolute limits to close the gap. The mission was no longer just about catching up. It was about finding a different path to the top. Unable to acquire the most powerful monolithic chips, Chinese engineers shifted their focus from hardware supremacy to architectural innovation. The new objective was to leapfrog ahead in autonomy, creating AI that could outthink an adversary, even with less powerful processors. Advanced packaging became the key. By combining smaller, more specialized chips, or chiplets, into a single, densely interconnected system, they could compensate for the performance gap. This system-on-a-package approach filled the void left by the missing top-end chips. Simultaneously, procurement went dark. A clandestine network of shell companies and small, unknown firms emerged, becoming quiet giants in a shadow supply chain. These new supply lines branched and burrowed through neutral territories and regulatory gray zones, securing essential components and manufacturing equipment through indirect channels. The country's top universities pivoted their research programs almost overnight, focusing on applied autonomy, adversarial learning, and complex swarming behaviors. In state-run labs, aerodynamics met machine learning in rapid, iterative cycles, designing new platforms optimized for AI pilots from the ground up. AI agents were trained not in hours or days, but over weeks, learning from millions of simulated combat missions against every known Western aircraft and defense system. The result of this strategic miscalculation was not a stalled adversary, but a hyper-focused one. It was the birth of a new doctrine, forged in secrecy, accelerated by pressure, and built on a foundation of autonomy. Out of this pressure emerged a classified military program, the Ghost Fleet Initiative. Its mandate: autonomy first, stealth as a given. A fully autonomous stealth fighter, no pilot, no radio, no visible emissions. Decision stacks learn to fly, fight, and disappear. Every surface, data in, signature out. Heat maps trimmed to the noise floor. No continuous command link. Autonomy sealed inside the airframe. Doctrine goal: compress time, deny targeting, overwhelm defenses. Human oversight reimagined: authorize, then stand back. Takeoffs in darkness. Data recorded, not transmitted. From orbit, almost nothing to see. A program named for what it becomes: unseen, unfollowed, unanswered. These ghost fighters are not merely an evolution in air combat. They represent a fundamental paradigm shift. They are unlike anything the world has seen because they fuse multiple next-generation capabilities into a single autonomous platform. Where previous aircraft excelled in one or two areas, stealth, speed, or agility, the Ghost excels in all, orchestrated by an intelligence that operates at machine speed. They fly in coordinated swarms, sharing data instantly across a decentralized encrypted network. But this is not a monolithic group. The swarm dynamically assigns roles to each unit. Scouts push ahead to map the battle space. Decoys mimic the signatures of larger, conventional aircraft to confuse enemy sensors, and strike packages lie in wait, silent and unseen. A single command node can orchestrate this complex ballet of deception and attack, adapting the role of each fighter in milliseconds based on evolving battlefield data. On board every fighter, a powerful autonomy stack processes this shared intelligence. They identify threats, collaboratively devise optimal strategies, and execute multi-axis attacks without any direct human control. The entire decision cycle, from threat detection to weapon release, is compressed into fractions of a second. Against modern radar, they are echoes in the noise. Their composite materials and faceted geometry are designed to deflect and absorb radar waves, but their true advantage is adaptive. The AI actively monitors enemy radar frequencies, adjusting its flight path and electronic profile to exploit momentary gaps in coverage. The autonomy stack anticipates defenses and routes through blind corridors in the sensor grid. It fuses preloaded terrain data with real-time intelligence to fly nap-of-the-earth profiles, making geography itself a weapon. For deep penetration missions, the swarm enters zero communication mode. They vanish from the electronic spectrum. No emissions, no beacons, no call sign. Each fighter operates on its own initiative, executing its part of the plan in total silence, making them impossible to detect or jam through conventional electronic warfare. This stealth is multi-layered. Thermal signatures are actively managed and shaved to match the background temperature, venting heat through shielded nozzles or storing it in internal sinks. Acoustically, they are engineered for near-silent flight at low speeds, becoming audible only moments before they pass overhead. In a close-range dogfight, they maneuver beyond the limits of human endurance and reflex. Freed from the constraints of a human pilot, the airframe can execute instantaneous high-G vector changes that are physically impossible for manned aircraft, consistently outperforming any pilot in the sky. Precision strikes deploy with surgical signatures. Weapons are released from internal bays to maintain a low radar cross-section, using low-yield boosters and unpowered glide paths to strike targets with minimal warning. Most critically, each sortie trains the next. Every engagement, every evasion, every sensor reading is data. When safe, the swarm sinks, and this new data is resharded, distributed and integrated across the entire fleet's neural network. The Ghost Fighters don't just execute missions. They learn from them, compounding their tactical advantage with every flight. In Washington, intelligence agencies are alarmed. Reports warn of an autonomous air arm assembling in secret. The language turns from caution to urgency. Imagery shows runways that wake without lights and cool aircraft footprints. War games predict overwhelmed defenses in under 2 minutes. Procurement timelines lag the threat curve. Zero-comm silence denies early warning. Detection arrives after the window to respond. Strategists reassess the air picture across the first and second island chains. Briefings ripple outward. Classified rooms, public warnings muted. Contingency plans multiply in the shadows. Time becomes the adversary inside the equation. The arrival of the Ghost AI fighters sends a profound shockwave through the global strategic landscape. It isn't just a new aircraft. It's the validation of a new doctrine, triggering an immediate and frantic global arms race. The secrecy and speed of the Ghost's development catch world powers off guard, forcing a rapid reassessment of air power and national security. Nations scramble to either replicate the technology or develop asymmetric counters to blunt its effectiveness. Moscow, leveraging its deep expertise in electronic warfare, accelerates development of long-dwell strike drones and sophisticated counter-AI jammers, designed to sever the Ghost's network links or corrupt its decision-making algorithms. New Delhi, recognizing the threat to its own regional ambitions, doubles down on investments in its own swarm logic programs, and massively reinforces its layered air defense networks, preparing for a high-volume, autonomous threat. European powers, meanwhile, bet on a different strategy: vast, interconnected networks of passive sensors and resilient, decentralized communication grids. The goal is to detect the ghosts without revealing their own position, creating a silent, invisible tripwire. In this new battlefield, countermeasures become purely algorithmic. Defensive systems evolve beyond simple chaff and flares, now employing AI-driven adaptive flares and dynamic spectrum shifting to outthink the ghost's own targeting AI in real time. The implications bleed into the civilian world. Airspace policies are rewritten overnight, with vast corridors suddenly restricted as nations carve out training and patrol zones for their new autonomous assets, shrinking the skies for commercial travel. Capital flows toward autonomy at an industrial scale, as investors and governments alike pour billions into AI, robotics, and advanced manufacturing, recognizing them as the new pillars of national power. Military strategy itself pivots from a contest of platform versus platform to a war of network versus network. Victory is no longer determined by the faster jet, but by the faster decision loop, the more resilient, intelligent, and adaptive system of systems. Defenses must now be multi-domain, layering kinetic, electronic, and cyber effects to create a unified shield. Behind closed doors, diplomatic talks continue, but trust thins at the edges as the pace of technological disruption outstrips the language of treaties. The balance of power in the air begins to shift, quietly, decisively, and perhaps irreversibly. The skies of tomorrow will not be ruled by pilots. They will be ruled by algorithms, silent, invisible, unstoppable. And the United States may have triggered the rise of the weapon it fears most. The ghost AI fighters may already be out there. The future of war has changed.